I used to think a meaningful life had to look big, full of goals, busy days, and constant checklists. But along the way, God changed my plans. He led me to something slower, quieter, and so much better. Today, I'm taking you along for a morning of homemaking and making some applesauce, and we will chat all about living what many would think of as a boring, maybe even dull life, but how I've learned that it honors God and brings me purpose and joy. Currently, my days are filled with things that may seem mundane to many people who look on. I'm doing laundry and dishes, making food, teaching my kids, I'm cleaning up messes. And when I was growing up, it was impressed upon me that education was very important and finding a career path was greatly encouraged. So being a homemaker didn't really seem like a career or like it was enough to fill someone's life. It even felt like it was less important than other things that were outside the home. And even in the church, I felt like homemaking was not encouraged. So when I chose a career and went to college and pursued a busy, overflowing life in my 20s, it led to burnout. I was busy doing all these things, but I was rarely just slowing down and taking quiet moments to sit in God's presence and to enjoy being at home. I had a checklist of things I felt like I needed to be doing, and I just lived in this constant state of tiredness. It wasn't until I finally stepped away from my career of teaching to become a stay-at-home mom that I was finally forced to slow down. And 1 Thessalonians 4 verse 11 is a verse that has really resonated with me. It says, "Make it your ambition to lead a quiet life, to mind your own business, and to work with your hands." And at first that kind of sounds small to me, but honestly, being a stay-at-home mom felt small. And those were things that I did as a stay-at-home mom and as a homemaker. Cooking, cleaning, changing diapers. It all felt so boring and unfulfilling. And I thought that I needed more at that time. But now, looking back, I see that homemaking is a calling. Homemaking doesn't mean that I'm lazy all day. In fact, homemaking is a lot of work, but it's quiet work, as 1 Thessalonians talks about. It's not flashy. No one is telling me how good I'm doing. I'm not getting a paycheck. I'm not getting accolades. But choosing a quiet life, minding my own business, and working with my hands is a beautiful choice to live faithfully right where I am, where God has called me. And a quiet life isn't empty. It's full. It's full of peace. It's full of presence. It's full of purpose. It's learning to serve the people that God has given us. It's choosing contentment instead of comparing ourselves and always wanting more. It's being faithful in where we are called in each moment instead of hurrying to the next thing. Sometimes God will redirect our plans. I have talked to so many people just like me who were on a career path and then they had their babies and they had to stay home because they wanted to. They had that desire. Or I know some of you who watch my channel are retired and maybe you weren't thinking that you were going to be home in your later years and working and caring for your home, but now you find yourself there and your plans have changed. And I used to think it was like God was taking something away from me, but really He hasn't taken away. Instead, He's given me a different life. And I believe it's what our hearts were made for as women. It's an unhurried life that's grounded in work that is eternal and work that makes such a huge difference in our lives and in our families' lives and in our communities. The day before this, I had actually made some applesauce with some of the apples left from the day we had picked them at a local orchard. So in a previous video, I had shared how I made an apple pie from some of those apples, but we still had so many left. So that was actually the first time I had made an apple pie, and this is the first time I've ever made homemade applesauce. And I thought I needed a recipe, but honestly, you can make applesauce by just putting apples in a crock pot and letting them cook, and then they'll get all mushy and everything. And so you really I didn't need a recipe, but next time I will not use one. So for this recipe, it called for 3 pounds of sliced apples, a half a teaspoon of cinnamon, and then a half a cup of sugar. And as I was dumping the sugar into the apples, I thought, wow, this is a lot of sugar. So basically, this ended up being a dessert for our family. In fact, when my kids were eating it, they said, this tastes just like the apple pie that you made. It's a dessert. And it truly is. So in the future, I will not use sugar, maybe just a little bit of honey to sweeten if the applesauce is a little tart. But honestly, all you need is just apples in a crock pot, heating and getting all soft, and then you can just mush it up. So I will leave a link in the description box if you want the actual recipe that I used from today's video, because definitely you could have it for a dessert. It's much easier than making apple pie. But if you're just making applesauce, I learned the hard lesson. You don't need all the extra things, just apples is all that you actually need. So I'm going to finish up making up this applesauce here, and then we'll finish out the video. Philippians 4:11 reminds us, I have learned to be content whatever the circumstances. And that's really just what choosing a quiet life is about. It's instead of letting the world define your success, letting God define your success and honoring Him with your daily life. It's quiet. Nobody's patting you on the back when you do the dishes or when you speak gently to a family member and are there to support them. But when we quiet the noise of the world and instead we only listen to the voice of God, we start to see the beauty in our lives, in these small, faithful things that we do each day as homemakers, preparing meals, just building up with words of love to our family members, living each day with purpose as we fold the laundry and as we just go about caring for our homes and our families. If your heart is longing for some peace at home and a biblical perspective on homemaking, I created a new free digital download called Keeper at Home, and I will leave it below. It's full of scripture and encouragement to help you just slow down, refocus, and find purpose in your daily life as a homemaker, and I will leave it linked below for you to check out. Living a quiet life as a homemaker does not mean that you are less important. It means that you are living your life with intention. Instead of listening to all the things that the world tells us we should be doing, it's so important to slow down and listen to God's call on your life. Titus 2 tells women that God designed for our priorities to be our families and our homes. And that doesn't mean that they are the only things that we do with our time. And it doesn't mean that you can't work outside of the home or inside of your home doing other things. But if our lives are so full of other things and our families and our homes are only getting our leftovers, then something has to change. I used to describe myself as just a stay-at-home mom, and I thought that I needed to do more with my life. But honestly, I'm so thankful that God helped me realize that I had purpose in my quiet, simple, maybe even boring life that He called me to. So today, keep choosing peace and let God write the story of your days, no matter how quiet they may be.